Okay, so we are discussing tonight the topic of brachas, of blessings, in terms of Yiras Hashem and how they lead to fear of Hashem. So we have in this week's Parsha, Parshas Ekev, a section called Parshas Hayira, the section about fear of Hashem. And some people actually have a custom to say this section every day after the morning prayers. And it starts with the following pasuk: Va'ata Yisrael, Ma Hashem Alekecha shoyal me'imach, kiim liyiras Hashem Alekecha. And now, Jewish people, what does Hashem ask of you, if not to fear Hashem, your God, Alechas b'chol derachav, to go in all of His ways, ula'ahava oisai, and to love Him, Alavadas Hashem Alekecha, and to serve Hashem b'chol levavcha b'chol nafshecha, with all of your heart and soul. And the next pasuk says, Lishmar mitzvos Hashem, to guard Hashem's mitzvahs, Chukosav, and His statutes that I'm commanding you today. So, of course, everybody asks, or I should say more precisely, the Gemara asks, Atu Yira Milsa Zutra Sehi. Is fearing Hashem a small matter? It says, what am I asking for already? Big deal. Just fearing Hashem. Is that right? Is that a small matter to fear Hashem? It seems to be a difficult level to achieve, to have a proper fear of Hashem. So the Gemara answers, I believe it's the Gemara in Brachas, excuse me. The Gemara says that Legabe Moshe Milsa Zutrasahi. Concerning Moshe, it's a small matter. Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking here in this entire Chumash Devarim. And for Moshe Rabbeinu, it's a simple thing to fear Hashem. So, of course, all the commentaries on the Gemara try to understand the answer. The answer begs the question, Moshe Rabbeinu is not speaking to himself. Moshe Rabbeinu is speaking to Klal Yisrael, and he's trying to get them to keep these mitzvahs and to fear Hashem. So why is he talking about himself? It's easy for him. Thank you very much. Not easy for everybody else. So many answers have been given. I'll just mention two of them, or three of them actually. The most famous one I would say is the Alter Rebbe's answer in Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe explains that every Jew has a level of Moshe Rabbeinu inside of them. That is the essence of their neshama. When that level is revealed, it actually is easy to fear Hashem. So all we have to do is reveal that level of Moshe that is within us. How to do that? That's not for this class. But Tanya gives you the recipe how to do that. So that's one interpretation. Then I saw an interesting interpretation from the Yismach Moshe. Who was the Yismach Moshe, you might ask? His last name was definitely Teitelbaum, and his first name was Moshe ben Tzvi Hirsch. So the Yismach Moshe says that Moshe Rabbeinu was a very humble man. So because it was easy for him to fear Hashem, and he considered himself not special, he looked around and he thought everybody else had greater qualities than he did, as we know from Parshas Beha'aloscha, how it's described, Moshe Rabbeinu's humility. So he figured, if it's easy for me, it must be easy for everybody else. Anyway, I must say that this answer is difficult for me personally to understand, because the Torah is recording Moshe Rabbeinu's words. And if Moshe Rabbeinu, thought of himself as being nothing special, but we know he was something special. So the Torah everything in the Torah is true. The Torah is not going to record something that Moshe Rabbeinu thought by mistake. Anyway, this is something to think about. And finally, I'll mention the Maharsha, who uses a different Gemara to answer this question. The Gemara says, Va'at Yisrael Masha Melekech Hashem Me'imach is a source for the idea of saying 100 brachas every day. Gemara and Menachos. Every day you're supposed to say 100 brachas. And this can be inferred from this pasuk in various ways. First of all, Rashi says, Al tikri ma ela mea. The word ma should be understood as 100. It should be read, instead of saying what, it should be read as mea, 100. Meaning to say, Hashem is asking of you to say 100 brachas a day in order to fear Hashem. And this is the answer to the question, according to the Maharsha, is how is it that Moshe Rabbeinu asks us to do something which is so easy for him, yet it is hard for us? The answer is, say 100 brachas a day, and really, say them properly with concentration. And if you do that, you will come to fear Hashem. And according to an ancient sefer called the Sefer HaManhig, one of the lesser known Rishonim, according to the Sefer HaManhig, it was actually Moshe Rabbeinu himself who instituted the concept of saying 100 brachas a day. Even though the Gemara says that it was established by David HaMelech, as we'll see in a moment. But nevertheless, according to the Sefer HaManhig, it was originally established by Moshe Rabbeinu. Then it was forgotten. It became kind of neglected. David HaMelech brought it back. So Hashem is saying, this is all simple. 100 brachas, and you'll come to fear Hashem. Tosfos says, how do you see 100 brachas in this pasuk? Very simple. You count the letters in this pasuk, and there's exactly 100 letters. Only problem is that in our versions of the Torah, it's 99. So in Tosfos' Torah, the word shoel had a vav. And in ours, it's without a vav. We know that we're not experts in chaseris and yaseris. The Torahs that we have are not perfect in terms of the vavs and the yuds, the letters that are not pronounced sometimes, or pronounced just as vowels. So Tosfos' Torah had a vav. Some say actually, maybe it didn't have a vav, but he counted the aleph of mea, as if it said mea. Anyway, another source that this pasuk is referring to 100 brachas is something that the Chidah brings, and that is a gematria thing. Personally, I'm not a very big gematria guy, so I needed my calculator to figure it out. But according to my calculator, it is actually correct that, if I could just find my calculator, that'd be good. It is actually correct that the words Mo Hashem Elokecha shoyel me'imach ki, what is Hashem asking you of you except for, of course Elokecha with a hey, not a kuf, is 674, and Mea Brachas is also 674. So Hashem is asking of you to say the 100 brachas. That is the key to fearing Hashem.
Where is that from?
That is from the Chidah. Oh, sorry. No, the Rekeach. The Rekeach. Okay, so it is worth pointing out a question on the Gemara's question, before we continue on the theme of 100 brachas. It's worth pointing out a question on the Gemara's question. What does it mean when it says, Atu Yira Milsa Zutrusehi, is fearing Hashem a small matter? And the answer is yes, for Moshe Rabbeinu it's a small matter. Well, we're not only talking about fearing Hashem. Read the pasuk. The pasuk says, as I mentioned, what does Hashem ask of you? To fear Hashem, to go in His ways, to love Him, to serve Him with your heart and soul, to guard the mitzvahs and the chukim. Love, fear, going in the way, and keeping all the mitzvahs of the Torah. And that's all, nothing, simple, easy. Well, the truth is, if you're Moshe Rabbeinu, all of that is easy too. But But I saw in the Pardes Yosef, he explains, I believe it's from the Sfas Emes, that the Gemara focuses on Yira only, because that is the key to everything else. If you have fear of Hashem, then everything else will actually be easy. Once you have fear of Hashem, of course, you guard mitzvahs, you go in His ways, you serve Hashem, you love Hashem. It all comes easy. And I'm sorry.
But the word kiyum has to exclude something. What is Hashem not asking from us?
Well,
what could He have asked that He's not asking?
Well, the simple answer that comes to mind, although it doesn't really fit into everything else I'm saying, but the simple thing is, Hashem is saying, don't worry about everything else. Don't sweat the small stuff, parnasa, health, everything else, I'll take care of that. It's on me. Just fear Hashem, that's up to you, that's free choice, and then I'll take care of everything else. I saw that somewhere. So the point is that the Pnei Menachem, one of the Ger Rebbes, says, for example, there was a rich man who wanted to give a donation to the poor man. He wanted to make him rich, in fact. But he's not just going to give him money. I mean, it's kind of strange, and the guy's not going to want to take it. So he says, do me a favor, can you lend me your jugs? I know you have jugs, and I know there's honey in them, whatever, they're great. I just want to borrow them because they're very special. And I'll give them back to you. So the poor man gives him the jugs, he takes out the honey, and he fills it with gold and silver, and then he returns it back. So he says that's the mashal for fear of Hashem. Hashem says, do me a favor, all I ask is to fear Hashem. And if we give Hashem that vessel of fear, then He puts in it everything else. Everything else that we're supposed to do, He makes it easy for us. But He doesn't want to just give it to us as if it's His work. He wants us to feel like we're working for it. So He makes us work on the vessel for everything else, which is the fear of Hashem. Once we achieve that, He helps us with everything else. He puts everything else in to that vessel. So with this, he explains what it says in the Gemara, that Hashem has an oitzer shel yirah shamayim. Hashem has a treasure house of fear of heaven. Why does Hashem treasure fear of heaven more than anything else? So he says a person treasures what he cannot achieve on his own. Something special that he needs to go out and get. Hashem has everything in the world. The one thing He does not have is fear of Hashem. Well, He's going to fear Himself. And even the fear of Hashem we have, He doesn't create it. He specifically leaves it to us to create. That's the one thing He, so to speak, needs us for. So when we actually achieve it, Hashem says, wow, this is special. This is something I have to treasure because I can't manufacture it. It's a limited edition. So He treasures it. So that's why it becomes the gift that we give Him, and then He fills it up with everything else.
It's very hard to fear when you love one.
Well, there are two kind of emotions that we can have, and they're both we can have them in different sides of our hearts. The Alter Rebbe says we can have both. We fear Him because we recognize His greatness and His awesomeness. At the same time, we know what He does for us on a daily basis and hourly, minutely, and we are appreciative of that too. So we have both emotions.
The Alter Rebbe does believe that we need to have fear first and love.
Yeah. That's the order. Fear and then love. Then there's a higher level love, a higher level fear, but the basic fear comes first. So one pshat that I cannot stop myself from saying, even though I can't really fit it into everything before or after. But the Chidah says, this is what I was mentioning before the Chidah, this is actually what he says. The Chidah says, the Ata means tshuva. Tshuva is something you're supposed to do right away, you're not supposed to delay. Now, that's the mitzvah of the hour. The Ata, if you do tshuva, then kiyim liyira, then fearing Hashem will come easy. That's the key. That's how you have to start out. Okay.
Are you going to talk about how you reach fear? Is that part of this instruction? How do you attain
Other than the Maharsha who says that through saying the brachas you attain the fear, I'm not really going to delve into that. It's worthy of a class, but I didn't really prepare for that. So in relation to this, he brings the son of the Hafla, who says that Yisrael, with the word ma, is the gematria of shofar, 586. So that's an allusion to the tshuva that the Chida speaks about. The shofar brings the tshuva, and all of this, if you have that, that leads you to fear Hashem in an easy way. Okay, so back to what we said before, that a person who wants to attain fear of Hashem will say 100 brachas a day towards fearing Hashem. So we mentioned that some say Moshe Rabbeinu established it, and some say David HaMelech established it. It's based on the pasuk Ne'um HaGever Hukam Oil, spoken by the person, the following prophecy, which is in the 23rd chapter of Shmuel Beis. So David HaMelech starts off his, kind of prophetic statement that it's spoken by the man who established the yoke. What did he establish the yoke of? So the Medrash says he established the mitzvah of saying 100 brachas a day. The gematria of oil is 100. Ayin and Lamed, right? 70 and 30 is 100. How did that happen? So what happened is that David HaMelech, in his time, at some point, there was a plague, and 100 young men were passing away every day. Now, this is not to be confused with the plague that happened towards the end of his reign, which is after he mistakenly counted the Jewish people, and Hashem was angry, and Hashem gave him the choice if he wanted 7 years of famine, 3 years of war, or 3 days of a plague. And he says, Vayomer David al God, David said to God, Sali ma'oid, I'm in great pain. Nifla na biyad Hashem. Ki rabim rachamov. I would rather be in the hands of Hashem, who's very merciful. Of yad adam alapoil. I don't want to be under the thumb of man. If there's a famine, then it's up to the people who control the storage houses to sell the food at the price, whatever. That's not a good idea. If there's a war, the enemy, they have no mercy. Plague is up to Hashem. He could change his mind any moment. So he chose the plague, and the plague, Baruch Hashem did have mercy, and the plague only lasted from the beginning of the day till Moye, till the fixed time. Some say that was 24 hours, fixed time the next day. Some say it was the fixed time of midday, so it was 6 hours. Some say it was only 1 hour. And some say it was exactly the amount of time it takes the sun to rise in the sky, which is approximately 3 minutes. But in any case, during that small span of time, 70,000 people died. And then David he bought the spot of the Beis HaMikdash, he brought a korban, he saw the Malach standing there with his sword outstretched over Yerushalayim. We say that pasuk in the Haggadah every year. And when he brought the korban, the plague stopped and so on. Anyway, this is not to be confused with that plague, because this was 100 a day. And I don't know, honestly, when it happened in David's reign. But at some point in his reign, there was 100 young men passing away every day. And David looked into the matter, and with his divine inspiration, he came to the conclusion that what was necessary to counter this plague was the idea of saying 100 brachas a day. And we see from here, by the way, that saying brachas protects from death. I mean, it's a clear medrash. The brachas protects from the plague. So the question is, how did he establish brachas when we know that the brachas were established by the men of the Great Assembly, who didn't come into the picture until several centuries later, in the beginning of the second Beis HaMikdash, and David was even before the building of the first Beis HaMikdash. So there's different interpretations about that. And the Prisha says that he actually did not make the text of the brachas. He actually he said, this is the concept. The concept is, say 100 brachas a day. I will leave it to the chachamim, to the sages of the generations, to figure out what exactly to say. And it took them a few centuries to figure out exactly what to say, and they recorded it in the Gemara, and we know it until this day.
How did the plague stop right away?
So how did the plague stop right away? So I heard once a pshat, but I couldn't find it, so I can't quote it in whose name it was said, that during David HaMelech's time and until the Anshe Knesset HaGdolah, they had to say 100 brachas a day, but they said it in their own words. They said it in their own words. They walked out in the morning, they got the sunlight, they said, Hashem, thank you for the sun. They got a nice breeze, a cool breeze, they said, thank you Hashem for the wind. They came to eat. There was no brachas per se before eating. I mean, after eating was already brachas, but before eating, they said, thank you Hashem for the cake, for the bread, whatever it is. And that way they got to 100 brachas a day. Some say that, I think it's, I don't know. I think, they were allowed to. I don't know if they had to, because I don't know, there was no...
Are we today allowed to make our own brachas with Hashem's name?
You cannot say Baruch Ata Hashem with that formula and then make up your own bracha. You know what I mean? If you want to say, I thank you Hashem, without saying the text of a bracha at all, you are allowed to. That's
why
what...
were they allowed to say it with Hashem's name before?
Well, after the Chachamim made the brachas, they said this is the matbeah. This is the way we're telling you to do it. And if you change the matbeah, you're not yotze. You're not doing the mitzvah. If you're not doing the mitzvah, then it's not a proper way to say Hashem's name. But before that, there was no matbeah, so you could say whatever you wanted. Even today there is some leeway. There's the lashon is kol matbeah shetoch chachamim beikar habracha, something like that. It says. If you change, in the middle of the bracha without taking away from the main point of the bracha, you're still yotze. So the point is, some say, I think it's Rav Nitronoi going. So he was after the time of the Gemara, but still before the Rishonim. He says that David HaMelech actually made 100 brachas, but they were lost. We don't know what they were. And the Anshe Knesset HaGdolah had to kind of re-establish them. So, based on the pshat of David HaMelech originally establishing brachas without a specific text, we can explain a vart that is in the Kol Boy. The Kol Boy says that the reason that we say Enkel Elokeinu on Shabbos. Hasidim say Enkel Elokeinu during the week as well, by the way. But Nusach Ashkenaz only says Enkel Elokeinu on Shabbos. This is one of the big complaints against the Hasidim, by the way. How dare we say Enkel Elokeinu during the week, such a holy thing. Sfardim too. A lot of the changes the Hasidim made were to incorporate a lot of the Sephardic Nusach into their Nusach. So apparently, this is what they say. It doesn't sound right, but they say that I think it was the daughters of the Chassam Sofer. I heard this as a story, but it doesn't make sense at all. The daughters of Chassam Sofer came to check out a certain Rebbe and see, and the whole Shabbos he was doing things that were questionable halachically, but they were okay with it. But Sunday morning they heard them say Enkel Elokeinu. They came back. They said, forget it. It's terrible what the Hasidim are doing. Anyway. Can't be with Chassam Sofer because he was very close to Hasidim. But anyway, the point is that the Kol Boy says that the reason for saying Enkel Elokeinu on Shabbos is because on Shabbos we have a difficulty reaching the 100 brachas. During the week you have 3 Shemona Esreis with 19 blessings in each. And then, of course, you have the regular blessings you say in the morning, the Berachas HaShachar, you have Berachas Kriya Shema, and then you have meals, you eat, before, after Shabbos, you have to wash, so you have to bench, all kinds of things. But nevertheless, when all is said and done on Shabbos, you're still missing, 12 or 13 brachas, depending on your nusach. So he says that's why they established Enkel Elokeinu, Enkel Elokeinu is like, it replaces the bracha. Everyone is a praise of Hashem, a praise of Hashem, that can replace the bracha. So, I mean, the question, what's Enkel Elokeinu? It's not a bracha, it's a praise of Hashem. What does it have to do? So the commentaries explain the Kol Boy based on this concept, that what he means to say is, if you could say actual brachas, of course that's better. And by the way, on Shabbos, the best thing is to actually say 100 brachas by eating some extra food here and there. But you could also listen to the people who get an aliyah to the Torah and say Amen, the bracha on the Torah, the half Torah, and so on. But what he means is, if for whatever reason you cannot accomplish it in that way, so then we revert back to the original 100 brachas that were made by David, which were not with any fixed text, and that's why you could say Enkel Elokeinu. And this actually goes well with the Beis Yosef, who says, he brings an opinion that says, if you want to fulfill the 100 brachas by listening to somebody else, you have to hear the bracha, beginning to end. Shemea koina, listening is like you said it. And then if you say Amen, of course, as well, and that counts. The Beis Yosef says, why do you have to listen? You listen if you can, but even if you didn't hear it, and it's good enough, because we know there was a big shul in Alexandria, and they couldn't all hear. They didn't have a Shabbos microphone. I'm just kidding. They didn't have microphones, so they just wherever they were, they had flags. Baruch Hu, Kedusha, Yesh Merabah, whatever it is. So he says, even in such a shul, as long as you know what you're answering to, the Amen can count. So what's this argument about? One says, no, you have to hear it. The other one says, the Beis Yosef says, no, Amen is good enough. So it's along the same lines. The one that says you have to hear it holds it was established as actual brachas. So saying Amen is a wonderful thing. Saying Amen is a wonderful thing, but it's not the actual bracha. So it's not good enough. You have to hear the bracha, and then it's like you said it. The Beis Yosef says, no, saying Amen, which is a wonderful praise of Hashem, that can also count similar to the way it counted in the time of David HaMelech himself. Yes, please.
Where does the nusach or the nusachim come from?
The nusach of...
There are so many. I'm from Israel.
Yes.
So there are so many.
Yes.
Many different ones.
Yes.
But which one is the right one for me? And people come from different places, and they say, now, which one is for me?
Yes. So if you have a tradition from your family, because the Arizal says that there are 12 general nuschaot, and they correspond to the 12 shvatim, and they also correspond to the 12 pitchei shamayim, those 12 openings to shamayim, and each shevet has their path. They should go through that path. Each shevet, that's right.
We don't have a shevet.
But if you know what your father's nusach was, so that's your path. You don't know the name of your shevet, but you know your path. Ashkenaz, Sfard, Teman.
Stop right there. Ashkenaz, Sfard. That's where it stops, right?
No, within Ashkenaz there's different. Within Sfard there's different. Within Edot HaMizrach there's different. There's little sub differences. Little. Yeah. Ashkenaz and Sfard and Edot HaMizrach. Those are the main three.
They come from the same area.
Yeah.
One didn't like the other one, like two Jews.
But Baruch Hashem, now we're all getting along. Mostly. But the Arizal also says, by the way, that if you don't know your nusach, there's the 13th gate. It's called the Shar HaKolel, the general gate. Just like in the Beis HaMikdash, there were 13 openings. That's what it says. There were 13 openings. And the 13th is for anybody who doesn't know their nusach. That's his nusach Arizal. Because he included Ashkenaz and Sfard together. He put the custom of the Sfardim into Ashkenaz. So that's the general one. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the brachas that we have. I'm actually not going to talk about the brachas that we say on a daily basis, just because you've probably heard about them before. I thought I would speak about some that are not so well known. So there's a bracha that you're supposed to say, believe it or not, when you see a house of idol worship. a house of idol worship, pagan worship. The bracha is Baruch Atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shenosan erech apayim le'ovrei ritzoynai. That Hashem is slow to anger even to people who go against His will. Now the custom is we do not say this bracha. Even if we see a place that a church that worships idols, that literally bows down to icons, and some Catholic churches they have whatever they call the mother and and they actually bow down to these images. So that's actual avodah zarah. We don't say the bracha. Why don't we say the bracha? The reason is because this bracha is only recited when you see it. If you see it every 30 days, you can't say it because it's nothing different or unique. So, by the way, the reason why if you live in Miami, you don't say a bracha on the ocean. Really, you're supposed to say a bracha when you see the ocean. Oiseh Maaseh Bereishis.
I didn't know that.
But if you live in Miami, you don't say it. Why? Because you see it so often, you don't say it. Not only that, but even if you don't see it, for whatever reason, you stay in your little Dalet Amos and you don't go out and you don't see it. Because since everybody sees it, it's not considered something special. The same thing, if you didn't see a church in 30 days, it doesn't make a difference. But because people in general see them so often, they don't say a bracha.
If you travel away from him and you travel to an area where there's no ocean, how long would you have to wait?
30 days. 30 days, yeah. That's what it says, 30 days for
Even
all
if you
these
still live
brachas.
there, if you're traveling.
It would seem.
So
it
if
would
you
seem.
see any ocean, it doesn't.
Yeah, any ocean.
You're always seeing the ocean.
Any
So if
ocean,
you
yeah.
travel to Israel or whatever.
Yeah,
It
correct.
doesn't include lakes or anything, but it wouldn't include the Mediterranean.
Mediterranean, definitely. I think Mediterranean has a special bracha.
Yeah,
Shas
you're
Hasayim
right,
Hagadol.
yeah.
I think Shas Hasayim Hagadol. But the point is that they bring the same thing about living in Yerushalayim in terms of going to the Koisel and tearing Kriya. The halacha is, when a person sees the Har HaBayis, the Temple Mount, in its state of destruction, unfortunately, no Beis HaMikdash there, so you're supposed to tear Kriya, rip a garment, and say the bracha, Dayan HaEmes. And that's the halacha of Shulchan Aruch, nobody argues on it. But the people in Yerushalayim, the people who live in Yerushalayim do not do that. Why do they do that? So, first of all, they see it all the time, or at least within 30 days. Even if they did not see it within 30 days, nevertheless, because everybody does see it, so it's not considered something different. Although Shlomo Zalman Auerbach said a famous word, that if you live in Yerushalayim and you didn't go to the Koisel in 30 days, you should tear Kriya for not going to the Koisel. That's another word. Anyway, but I saw a different word from the Divrei Yatziv, from the Kloisenberger Rebbe. He says that they made a special takana, that the people of Yerushalayim should not have to tear Kriya when they go to the Koisel, because otherwise nobody's going to want to live in Yerushalayim. Every time you go to the Koisel. And
Starting and
I don't know.
How about this thing I saw that they do Kenyans with each other? Your shirt, my shirt.
It's very, very iffy.
One sees it, one doesn't see it.
Very iffy. It's not one of the loopholes that Chazal envisioned. Let's put it that way.
wear a torn shirt when you go there.
Then you have to add. Oh yeah, you can add. You can wear a torn shirt and add to it. Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't have to buy a new shirt.
You don't have to buy a new shirt.
Which area do you tear?
Korea over here.
On the right side, I believe. Right side.
Where? Just in general, anywhere.
Yeah. At a tefach. One tefach. So he says, yeah, that they made a special takana because otherwise people wouldn't want to live in Yerushalayim. It's a very expensive city to live in. And it's one of those tears, by the way, that inan ma'achen la'olam. Certain tears you're allowed to sew up, but a tear after a parent, it's forbidden to sew up, chas v'shalom, because it shouldn't be forgotten. And the Beis HaMikdash is like that. So it would be very difficult to live there. So he says they made a special takana. So there is a special bracha made for seeing a place of avodah zarah, which could include a church if they serve, if they worship icons there, there is a special bracha made when you see it being destroyed. If it's in Eretz Yisrael, you say Baruch Hashem Elokeinu L'Olam she'akra avodas kachava me'artzeinu, who uprooted idol worship from our land. If it's in a different country, you say she'akra avodas kachava me'amakam hazeh. And then you say, after the bracha, you say, Keshem she'akarta oisem ha'makam hazeh, just like you uprooted from this place. Kein taka oisem makol ha'makaymas. So too you should uproot it from every place. V'hashev le'vavdeim le'avdecha. And you should restore the hearts of those that serve these idols to serve you. Meaning to say that we're davening that all of the nations of the world should come and recognize Hashem, which is what we daven for every Rosh Hashanah, right? We daven that every created being should realize that Hashem created him, which is what's going to happen when Mashiach comes. All of humanity is going to serve Hashem together. They're not going to be Jewish, right? But they're going to be worshiping, they're going to be monotheistic. They're going to be Noahites, as they say. They're going to support the Jewish people, and they're going to worship the one Hashem. So it's an opportunity to ask Hashem for that time to come swiftly. Now this is a bracha that can be said, because this is not something that happens every day.
Do you need to go there?
I'm sorry?
Do you need to go there?
That I don't know.
It's usually supposed to, I mean, for a king.
Malchei
you're
Yisrael, it
to
says
go
you're supposed to
see.
go, yeah.
If this is going to Avodah Zarah,
Yeah.
you're supposed to go.
I don't know.
I have a question.
Yes.
This purpose which we are talking about, right? But it's only for Yerushalayim, right?
Which one?
The ones we are talking
No, this is for anywhere.
about everywhere.
Yeah. So, another bracha that's not so well known. It's not very politically correct, but it's in Shulchan Aruch. It used to be, it was very unusual to see a black man. And a person who would see a black man would say a bracha, Meshana Habriyos, that Hashem makes people who are different than everybody else.
That's what they say about us.
So,
Am I right? Let me just, now, may I say something? Jamaica, I know Jamaica very well.
yeah.
And there's a big mountain range between one side and the other side.
Uh-huh.
And they are made up in that mountain. You never saw a white man.
Uh-huh. Interesting.
So when you
When they see us, they say this
They
bracha.
say the bracha.
say, brother, now they
Interesting.
have a road going over it. You know?
Uh-huh.
So they say,
They come out and look at us. Interesting. So it used to be that this bracha was said. It's no longer said, obviously, because it's not an unusual sight. But the same thing would be said about any, if you see anybody who is unusual, somebody who is an albino, somebody who is very red, somebody who is a dwarf, somebody who has, all these different conditions that are very unusual.
We do
Well, anybody, any of these that are not unusual, that are unusual.
Autistic also? Somebody would be autistic.
Not sure about that. I think it has to be something that's visible on their body, something very different about their bodies. I don't think it's a mental state.
But it would be a negative thing. You would make this bracha on negative things?
Yeah, negative things, yeah.
Why are you making the bracha on negative things?
that's unusual to you, right? That's unusual to you.
Yeah.
I mean, the bracha is not about the negativity. The bracha is about Meshana Habriyas, that Hashem makes different kinds of creations.
Why would you thank Hashem for making people sick?
I mean, these people actually that he lists are not
Yeah,
sick.
that's the thing. These people are
These
all
people are not sick. They're just different.
But that's a person himself. You don't say that for other people suffering. You don't say.
No, you say Diana Emes actually for other people suffering also. Actually, he brings that here.
Uh-huh.
He brings that here. He says, if you see a lame person, an amputee, a blind person, a person with shchin, boils, All these things a person should say. If they were born that way, then it's Meshana Habrias. But if they became that way, you say Dayan Emes.
So they're giving a bad thing.
That it's a bad thing. You say it's Hashem is the true judge. So in other words,
No,
you-
Dayan I understand. But the other one, Shana Brias, doesn't seem to be a bracha praising Hashem. Dayan is saying you're saying that it's a bad thing and that you accept Hashem's judgment.
Are we talking about Shinui here?
Shinui.
Yes?
Yes.
We're talking about Shinui, right?
Yeah.
Are you thanking God that, Hashem, that you're not like them? In essence?
I don't think so.
Or that He made you healthy and
I'm not exactly sure of the answer, but I'll share something that he says about certain animals. Maybe it'll shed some light on this question. Because it mentions in Shulchan Aruch 2 animals that you say the bracha for. One is a pill, which is an elephant, and one is a koif, which is a monkey. So some say that it's specifically those animals, because those animals have some human features. I mean, the
what?
monkey definitely has human features, right?
So, the monkey has monkey features.
Sorry. The elephant is different because it's very big. Some say because it's very smart. So it's unusual in that sense.
So that's its human-like.
Actually, the Meiri says that the elephant is similar to people in certain ways. Maybe it's about the intelligence. Maybe it is about the intelligence.
And there are a lot of more intelligent animals that are much more intelligent than elephants.
Dolphins, you mean?
What?
Dolphins?
Dolphins, ravens, a lot of, probably put together a list. Elephants aren't considered the most intelligent animals.
Uh-huh.
There are a few things that they're known for.
They go to Kever
They're
Elvis.
dead,
They
yeah.
go to Kever Elvis.
Elephants more than that,
They go once a year. Yeah.
Physical things.
Why the elephant? So some say that it is specifically the monkey and the elephant because those are extremely unusual. Those 2 animals. The monkey because it's similar to a person, but it's different. And some say the elephant either because of its tremendous size or because of its intelligence. Smart, yes.
Tiny?
Apparently it's very smart.
The elephant is very smart.
Apparently, yes. They say elephants don't forget. That's what they say.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And the elephant is delicate.
they
One of the
discovered,
smartest animals around.
That's what they say.
they discovered that the elephant and the giraffe, they communicate with each other. Not necessarily giraffe with elephant doesn't happen, but with each other, the same species, and very high-pitched sounds that we cannot pick up.
Interesting.
And they're able to communicate even far away. They can communicate.
You
Interesting.
know where you
That's
have
why
that?
we can't hear the giraffes sounds. We think they're quiet.
In Australia. In Australia.
Giraffes
They
and
can communicate. Wild, the natives, they have a what do you call it?
Well, most whales can do it even better.
whales can do it, yes. No, but I was going to say, some say that it's for all animals that look, interesting. And according to that, Mashana Brias is just for the fact that Hashem made, interesting things, made things that are unusual and different. Whereas if you say it specifically on the ones that are neshuna, that are like different, that are partially like people, partially like not, so then it's only for like a change for the bad. So not answering the question totally, but perhaps different opinions about it. So there are different opinions, by the way. Oh, and as far as the people I mentioned before, people with handicaps and so on, those brachas are only said if it's the sort of handicap that you don't see, that are not seen often. People that handicaps that are not an uncommon occurrence, we would not say the bracha for, just like you don't say.
rare because of scientific medicine on that.
Depends what? Depends
A
what?
hunchback, for example.
You see
Those
hunchbacks.
days,
You see hunchbacks. I mean, not so often, but there's a few people. But yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Was it the unusual aspects of the elephant and the monkey? But it's only like if you don't see them all the time, right?
Right. Some say. Some say.
Specifically, but only if you don't see them all the time.
Well, some say it's well. Obviously, you don't see them all the time unless you live in Africa, or if you work in the zoo. If you work in the zoo, yeah. If you see them all the time, you only say it the first time. If you don't, there's actually an argument. Some say you can only say it once in your life. That's it. Some say you can say it every 30 days. If you didn't see them for 30 days, you can say it again. So that's two opinions there. The Mishnah Berurah says better to say without Hashem's name. After 30 days, better to say without Hashem's name.
So is there anything that has like a specific, like pointed, specific, significance, to say like, don't eat the pig, So say the bracha for this. Even if you see it all the time,
I don't know. I don't know if there's a bracha that you say when you see it all the time. Most of the brachas that you say for things that you see, and I'm just listing some of them here, there's many other things. Like, for example, if you go to a place where a miracle happened to you, or to your parents, or to the Jewish people, so there's a special bracha you say for all these things. But it's only if you were not there for 30 days. So, because it has to be something special.
Separation of 30 days.
I'm sorry? It has to be separation of 30 days. I'll give you an example, a simple example. If the Jews, we just had the anniversary of the release from Entebbe, right?
40 years.
40 years. If a person who was in that plane that was hijacked goes back to Entebbe, to the hangar, they went back?
They went on the 40th anniversary on July 4th.
No.
Netanyahu went there with.
Netanyahu wasn't there.
Netanyahu.
His
brother was there, but he took with him
survivors.
Soldiers that were there.
So my question is, did they say the bracha she'asa li nes b'makam hazeh? That's the question.
That's a good question.
And this was the question the Rebbe mentioned by Farbrengen. You know about this? Because there were a group of Jews who said that it's not a miracle. Hashem doesn't do a miracle through Tziyonim. Can't be a miracle. It's from the Sitra Achra. It's no joke. It's from the Sitra Achra. It can't be a miracle. So the Rebbe was very fire against it by the Farbrengens. And the Rebbe said that it's a halachic question, if it's a miracle or not. Ask a Rav, if the people who were on that in that plane go back to that place, do they say the bracha she'asa li nes b'makam hazeh or not? If the halacha paskins that they do, then it was a miracle from Hashem, because the halacha establishes the Metzias. So they went around and got signatures, That's the halacha.
If you're in war.
Rav Zevin was alive. Rav Zevin was one of the main people who signed on that.
If you're in the middle of war, a lot of times you're saying.
So you go on a regular basis?
You say Hagoymel doesn't have to, it could be more than once every 30 days.
Right, but the Nes, you could be saying that constantly.
Like every single day.
You're being saved.
If you're in the middle of a war, I don't think you really have time to say Hagoymel, because you have to say it by a secretary with an aliyah and so on. I would think you would say it at the end of the war, just like when you're traveling. If you're traveling, and you're on a ship, and you're traveling for a month, you know what I mean? There are people who travel all year because they don't want to pay taxes in any one country.
Right.
So they go on a ship and they spend most of the time on the ship. So when do you say Hagoymel? You can't say it on the ship. You have to come back to dry land, then you say Hagoymel. If you're in the middle of the war, you can't say Hagoymel. You have to finish
But you need to say the bracha for a Nes, because you're being saved constantly.
Yeah, the bracha for the Nes is not when you're saved. It's when you come back to the place where you were saved. That's what it is.
People say it's not war, not exactly war. It's like you're deployed somewhere, but it's not war. Like deployed to Afghanistan, it's not necessarily a war.
Okay, so it depends. If you have a life-threatening situation and you escape from it, then you say it. Depends on the situation.
The plane you were referring to, that was with Idi Amin?
Yeah.
They captured,
They saved them, yeah.
they saved them.
Very few casualties.
Yeah.
I'll just mention one other bracha. If you see beautiful trees and beautiful creations, Jews or Gentiles, or even animals, you say, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shekocha lo ba'olamai. That what a wonderful world Hashem has, Hashem made. But you only make this bracha once on that person, unless you see somebody else even more beautiful than them. But you have to actually see them. You can't see a picture, and not to make it on a woman because it's not sneeze. It's not proper. I'm sorry.
That's what I assume you shouldn't go looking for. Maybe
You can't say it on a woman other than your wife, because you shouldn't be looking.
Heard that right.
Very good.
You've been
All
taken.
the best.
Good.
My pleasure.
You know, it's so funny. Today I saw that movie, a little clip. I was going through my